from here in Indiana, where I am bunkered down during quarantine. My name is Debbie Pinella. I'm a professional musician and educator. I work extensively with children, incorporating multiple disciplines, primarily in the arts, to help children cultivate, to become aware of and explore their creativity, both individually and collaboratively. I believe it's vital that children realize the value of their own unique creative voice and by extension, appreciate others. Today, I am going to speak about developing creativity through music composition. So let's start with this question. Can kids compose? Absolutely. Do child composers come only in the form of a Mozart or Beethoven? There might be one or two of those out there, but my belief is that musical composition is something inherent in all humans. It's as natural as walking and talking. If you think about it, kids do it all the time. They're skipping down the street or they're on the playground, making sound effects to accompany their favorite toy. The question really shouldn't be, can kids compose? But will we as teachers, mentors, parents, let them nurture that natural tendency? As the first smeared result of like finger painting, for instance, can be the initial step toward a Picasso-esque creation, so the jumbled mishmash of sounds made by a child can grow into a compositional masterpiece. So how do we foster this musical finger painting? With visual art, we seem comfortable praising the non-understood result, although we might secretly hope that the child will tell us what it is before we're forced to guess. However, in the case of that same child perpetually humming or energetically expressing their musical genius with a spoon on a collection of various size pots and pans, our response might be slightly less supportive. But these beginnings of expression, however, really do need to be encouraged rather than discouraged. My experience as a private music teacher for almost 3 decades and with 3 kids of my own is that music composition happens organically. It's a valuable tool for learning an instrument, how to express musical ideas, and even reinforce music theory concepts. With my own children, we could hardly read a poem or view a work of art without heading over to the piano to set it to music. And honestly, I don't know how else they would have learned the order of presidents, European capitals, or various math facts other than set to a melody. Music composition has been just a natural extension of experiencing life. Therefore, it was surprising to me when approximately 15 years ago, I spoke with a friend who is an excellent music educator and learned that they and many of their colleagues avoid the subject, despite the fact that music composition is one of the national standards for pre-K through 8th grades as designated by the National Association for Music Educators. The hesitancy expressed in that first conversation was repeated consistently as I spoke with other music educators. I was informed in various ways that just as math teachers might not finish the entire textbook, music composition was put off till the end and often entirely eliminated. When I asked questions, some of the educators actually became defensive. Others awkwardly expressed feeling unable to broach the subject with an overfilled classroom of students. But most were just resigned to the fact that it didn't work and was less important than other concepts. There wasn't enough time, no incentive, and no curriculum or model that seemed accessible. When a friend of mine asked if I wanted to teach a music composition unit in her classroom, I jumped at the chance. And the more that I worked with the students, the more I was convinced of the value of music composition as an educational tool. I wanted to figure out ways to support and encourage making music composition accessible for teachers and relevant for students in a way that to make connections beyond just an exercise in music class. So along with my colleague Ruth Boschkoff, a retired music teacher and prolific composer, I developed Kids Compose, a program that has evolved over the years to include classroom sessions, open houses, teacher training, workshops, and competition. The philosophy behind Kids Compose is an understanding that music, creativity, and music composition are inherent in each individual. A key aspect of the program is understanding the needs of each individual situation, enabling appropriate support for the music teachers, and providing opportunities for young people to explore music composition as a creative expression of their unique voice. That begins with pedagogical practices in classrooms, workshops, and in teacher training. So how does a music teacher with a large class, limited in both time and resources, inspire children to find their creative voice? How can they facilitate the development of compositional skills and help children find a unique path for expressing the music inside of them in the form of a melody? Composer Bruce Adolphe states that inspiration may come from anywhere: moonlight or mathematics, birdsong or Mozart, politics or love. Though there are many possible approaches to music composition, the challenge is finding what works in a classroom with a diverse group of children. One strategy is to introduce various compositional styles throughout the year as a collaborative class activity without making it a separate and sometimes intimidating or overwhelming concept. Then later, when approached as its own subject, students will already have a toolbox full of compositional techniques awaiting their choice for further exploring on their own. So what might that look like? Institute a quote of the day and have different students say it in various ways to start the class. With the class echoing, students may make silly sounds, speaking way up high or way down low. And this variety in pitch just gives the opportunity to discuss register, high and low. If a student does something interesting with the rhythm, then play around with that. Make it a rap or string a few of the versions together. Activities can continue as long as there is time and as long as the ideas are expanding and growing. The result is a collaborative composition, class melody to start the day, taking limited time and reinforcing basic music skills through compositional techniques. The focus can be on general skills or any skill to reinforce a lesson plan. Ask students what they had for lunch. Around here, often the answer is peanut butter and jelly. So repeat that back to them. Imitate the way they say it in different rhythms, have them repeat it, and really just get creative. Here are a couple of examples of peanut butter and jelly inspired class compositions. You can tell that they're in varying degrees of difficulty. Depending on the students, there can be experimentation with rhythm, dynamics, pitch. More advanced students may use polyrhythms, accents, sequential repetition, fragmented phrases, or syncopation. Another successful strategy to collaborative composition is to have students contribute to a drawing on the board, then vocalize in a way that follows the contour of a picture. Interestingly, some students are really hesitant to be the ones drawing on the board, but often they end up contributing the most to the ultimate composition. This particular class chose a bassoon and flute to play the two lines that they composed. You'll notice that the melody follows the contour of the picture, but some things shifted just a little bit. For instance, the selected notes for the clouds were played along with the tree notes rather than with the dog, where they were originally drawn. Also, in this particular instance, we had a chance to talk about what kind of bird had they drawn and what does its call sound like. The student who drew the birds decided it was a robin. So in that case, we determined the sound was a bit like cheerio, cheerio. And that gave us not only the rhythm, but the shape of the melody. Here's what their melody sounds like. So kids love to imitate sounds from nature. To stimulate the creative process, I might play a recording of bird songs or imitate insects, farm animals, car sounds, lawnmowers, windshield wipers, whatever I can think of or whatever they come up with. When appropriate, I encourage the kids to sit outside, just close their eyes and listen. Then I ask them to recreate the sounds that they have just experienced. One time I had a parent speak to me after her child had taken one of my composition classes, and she said jokingly that she was mad at me because her son now insisted on driving with the windows down. At the class he had attended, we composed using ideas exploring sounds in nature. Her son had gained a new appreciation for bird songs and other environmental noises, and often ran directly to the piano when he got home to experiment and compose after he'd been soaking in sounds on the ride home. So truthfully, the mom really did appreciate the change of perspective and the connection with the world around him. The point is that there are many ways in which to incorporate music composition, and exploring them with the students typically inspires a plethora of new ways. Music composition can be a natural everyday experience, and if explored throughout the school year, when the kids start consciously composing, they'll realize they've been doing it all along. And these experiences really allow the children to relate to music in a totally different way. They are now the composer. And since the various ways to approach the music composition have been introduced gradually, it won't be overwhelming for the teacher or the student. Kids Compose offers an annual competition involving Bloomington, where I live here, area 2nd through 6th grade students, and various departments of the Indiana University Jacobs School of Music. Elementary students submit short melodies. Selected finalist melodies are then submitted to the Jacobs School of Music Composition Department, where faculty members select 8 winners. 4 Jacobs School of Music composition students are then each assigned 2 of the winning melodies to combine in an arrangement for either band or orchestra. Local schools bus students to the Indiana University Musical Arts Center, or MAC, to attend a band for 2nd graders or orchestra for 5th graders concert, where Kids Compose winners join the Jacobs School of Music student composers on stage for the premiere of the collaborative composition before an audience which averages around 1,000 of their fellow students and the families of the elementary student winners, who are often attending a live performance for the first time in their lives. In an article for the Indiana Alumni magazine, the dean commented, "This has really resonated beyond what we thought. It's another one of those means by which you can engage children with music and an outlet for their creativity. Although some won't naturally gravitate to it unless you show them the possibility. This is exactly that. It gives the students the means by which to have a relationship with music as a composer." One parent reflected about the experience in a column for the local newspaper. "It's not every day that an elementary student has the honor of hearing a melody she wrote performed by an ensemble from one of the top music schools in the nation. I'm not sure if the significance of this experience has fully sunk in with my daughter yet. It is a wonderful example of the university reaching out to the community in the name of music education." And an Indiana University composition student explained, "The kids got a lesson in how music is made. It's also such a terrific way to connect the university to the community at large, a great way to reach out. And for me, that audience was way bigger than I've had for anything else I've ever written." So this program really does benefit elementary students, music teachers, IU students, the university, and the greater community. Now, over the years, I did notice a bothersome trend where some names appeared year after year and got sent along as finalists, but the students were never chosen as winners. Their melodies, though maybe not exactly what the judges were specifically looking for to combine and arrange into fully orchestrated pieces, were creative, well thought through, excellent submissions. I was concerned that by them continually trying and never winning, it could produce an effect opposite of the one intended. The students might have this outlet of creativity squelched rather than nurtured. So this realization was the catalyst to create a runners-up category and develop workshops to offer further opportunities for these students. Kids Compose runner-up workshops connect local professional musicians and Jacobs School of Music students with young composers in a setting where the kids are able to create an arrangement of their original melody. After a brief demonstration of each instrument to illustrate the unique timbres and possibilities, students take turns working with the musicians. They decide who plays when or which notes, in the case of harmonies or chords. Absolutely no restrictions are put on the young composers. Rather, there's a freedom to discover what works and what doesn't, what their preferences are, which instrumental sounds, higher or lower registers, combination of similar or different types of instruments, etc. At a workshop in April of 2019, prolific American composer Lauren Bernofsky joined the ensemble as a violinist and later reflected, Kids Compose is an incredible opportunity for young musicians to try their hand at composing. Not only are they presented with the impetus to write music, but they are also given guidance by professional composers, as well as the opportunity to try out their compositions, played by different combinations of instruments. A veritable cornucopia of possibilities, and a privilege scarcely available to professional composers. A bonus with these workshops is that some of the musicians are music education majors who get really excited thinking about ways of incorporating similar experiences for their future students. Kids Compose programs are expanding beyond Bloomington. Most communities have local musicians. A part of the unique identity of a community may offer fiddle or other folk instruments rather than traditional orchestral instruments. If local musicians aren't available, nearby communities can be tapped. But students from differing cultures bring diverse experiences and ideas to the composition process, further underscoring the unique voice of individuals and communities. Music composition can benefit any and all communities and is sustainable with already existing resources. Nurturing and cultivating these inherent capabilities creates connections and builds community. I was scheduled to work in elementary schools in rural Indiana this past April, but unfortunately, due to the global pandemic, that didn't happen. It's now postponed indefinitely. Additionally, I have been in discussion with multiple university music schools, which are interested in incorporating Kids Compose as a program with the potential of bridging across composition to music ed and even entrepreneurship, in addition to connecting with the community in new ways. Again, these are things that are put on hold as we deal with the global health crisis. Currently, actually, the expanding that seems possible and certainly needed is online. As things shut down this spring, not only were programs canceled, but music teachers scrambled as they were suddenly teaching online. I had a couple of music teachers ask if I could provide content for online teaching, and that really had me thinking in a different way. I've done a couple of projects this summer to date, and am currently pursuing other options, as some teachers are already facing online instruction again this fall, and others may very well end up in that situation again as well. We are starting to make some experiences available via social media to encourage exploration of music compositions, as well as connect students and teachers. Here is an example of a melody submitted by a student, played on a few different instruments. This melody is called What's the Answer? And was composed by second grader Grace. Here it is, played on some other instruments. people commented about which instrument they or their child preferred or maybe hadn't heard before, and others shared versions of the melody on their own instrument. Teachers responded positively, indicating intent to participate with their students in the fall. So this opens the possibility of interaction across skill levels, demographics, generations, and geography. A fun project that I was able to put together this summer was with Zin 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 a Violin, one of my favorite children's books, which counts by adding instruments from solo to a chamber group of 10. I produced a video featuring opera star Marietta Simpson reading the book. Interspersed with musical variations, I arranged on Pop Goes the Weasel, incorporating the instrumentation from the story as it moves along. Here is a short example of that.
That lazy clown, the big bassoon, he plays low down. We're laughing soon. Here, Grumpy, get your place in line and give us a nonette. That's 9.
A companion video was made that introduced the musicians and their instruments. And here's a short excerpt from that video.
Hello, my name is Tomer Maszkowski and I play the bass trombone. I was born in Holland, I grew up in Israel, and now I live in Berlin, Germany, Europe. People always tell me I tell bad jokes, so that's why I decided to play the trombone.
Now, these videos connect music with literature, give multiple examples of how a melody can be manipulated and various instrumentation and treatments made of the melody. And it highlights some fun examples of possibilities on the various instruments. I'm really excited about some of the other projects that are being developed right now to add additional online educational content. I honestly have no idea if we're going to be able to have any of our Kids Compose programs in person this year, but my goal is to keep encouraging teachers in any way possible. In closing, I just want to reiterate that music composition is a natural intersection of music and creativity that can be approached in diverse ways, and really encourage music teachers, parents, kids, everyone to experiment with music composition. My experiences have shown that whether a winner in the competition, a participant, or just someone inspired to fiddle around with making up a tune at home, experiencing music composition as a natural and fun part of life is invaluable for everyone. Former students, including those who work for the government or getting a chemistry degree, play soccer for a Big Ten university, or are ultimately pursuing music, have acknowledged the impact cultivating their creativity has had for them. Results have shown benefits for students, teachers,